One of the most important days as a psychology student in college, I was running late, as always. I had been caught up painting my latest work in my dorm. I still had paint all over my hands, and I didn't get the chance to change the dirty shirt I had been wearing. But my classmates had probably seen me looking worse. At that moment, I just needed to run. Hi there! Please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to our channel to let us know you want more insane stories like this one. I burst in through the door and went straight to my usual seat, next to a few of my friends who also studied psychology. The teacher was just now walking in, so I got lucky.
The day has arrived, my dear students, to decide on your final experiment,
she said. This was my favorite part of the course. We did experiments all over campus pretty often, but they were mild ones or ones that had been done before. This time, we got to design our own experiment, and we could make it as crazy as we wanted to, as long as it was ethical. My friends and I turned to each other grinning. We had been waiting for this since it was first announced weeks before. So what do you guys have in mind? I asked them excitedly. Their expressions dropped immediately.
We thought you would have an idea,
one of them said.
Yeah, Lynn, you're the idea girl,
my other friend said. I put my head down on the desk as I usually did when I had to come up with something really quickly. I like to think of my creativity as a lemon sometimes. I just imagine that I'm squeezing it to get all the juice out. Then, I got it, I exclaimed. It's gonna take some work, but you guys just leave that up to me. Here's what we're gonna do. After class, I went straight to the art studio on campus. I majored in psychology and minored in fine art, so I had access to everything I needed. I had the right paint, the glue, and most importantly, the right silicone. First, I worked on my sketches. My psych friends and I recruited some friends from other disciplines to help in our experiment, so there were 9 of us in total. I needed 9 sketches that would turn into 9 masks. You're probably wondering, masks? What are you using masks for? Well, I guess I can fast forward to the day of the experiment. My friends and I were gathered in the cafeteria discussing the plan. I took out a large duffel bag filled with smaller bags and passed them out. My friends all opened them and took out their masks and wardrobe.
Lynn, these are insane! You're awesome!
One of my friends exclaimed. Everyone went straight to the bathroom to change into their costumes. I was so proud of myself. I really outdid anything I had done before. If I hadn't designed everything myself, I definitely would not have recognized my friends. See, here's our experiment. Each of us was wearing a very realistic silicone mask. And I had picked out clothes that the theater majors used when performing. We all looked like completely different people, and that's exactly what we needed. That day, we headed into the city and did the same things, just in slightly different locations. We would ask people for help, complain about something, return a purchase to a store, etc. We would then see the differences in how people treated us based on how we looked. The experiment went amazing. We got so much data, and the evidence we found supported our hypothesis. People could be pretty judgmental at times. Now that we were done, I had to find something to do with my masks. I didn't feel like tossing them out, not after all the hard work and long hours I had put into them. I thought they would look really cool if I hung them up on my walls. My friends were a bit creeped out when they came in and saw faces looking down at them, but I knew these masks like I knew myself, so I found them comforting more than creepy. On a random day, I was super bored. All my friends were super busy, so I was just in my room watching stuff on my laptop. I glanced up at my masks and thought, maybe I can do more with them. I took out a notebook and pen and got to writing. Taking the masks down one by one, I was giving each mask its own identity. I felt powerful. The first mask was Melinda. Melinda has fiery red hair, freckles, and dresses in overalls when she goes to her favorite little coffee shops or for a bike ride in the park. The next mask is Hunter. He only wears tracksuits and likes renting motorcycles just to rev their engines around the city. Then there's Alan. Alan's nothing special. He's a lawyer in his 40s with a bald spot on his head and a briefcase permanently attached to his hand. Alice wears dark makeup and clothes, and her favorite places are bookstores with witchcraft sections. Nathan looks like he stays indoors 90% of the time, only going out to buy chips, a Coke, and the latest video game he wants to play. Cornelia is flawless. She's always wearing high heels, dresses to impress, and always has sharp comebacks. Mario is not a plumber, he's a veterinarian who loves going to the park to look for injured animals in need of help. And he always wears a lab coat to look fancy. Zelda is an old-school writer, always scribbling ideas on napkins with leaking pens and typing furiously when she gets home. There's also Billy, a total gym bro who always wears baggy clothes so he can then surprise people with his massive muscles. Finally, there's Lynn, me. I know I love art and I think psychology is interesting, but I don't know much else about myself. The only thing I know right now is that I love these masks, and I love being other people for a day or two. I got into the habit of dressing up like my characters and wearing their masks, just to do regular things like going for a bike ride as Melinda or buying groceries as Billy. It went great until I went to visit my family for the weekend. The only face I brought with me was Lynn. During dinner, I found myself getting anxious. There were so many people over and I was getting tired of being Lynn. My hands started to shake, and every time someone asked me a question about myself, I got teary-eyed. Because I could probably answer as Alan or Zelda, but as Lynn, I was clueless. I ran up to my room and started crying. I wanted to be able to escape my life and myself, and without my masks, I felt alone. I came back to college dying to be someone else. I realized I could use the masks to do things that I normally couldn't do. On one particular night, I decided to take a stroll around the city at night as Alan, the middle-aged lawyer. I was thinking about my recent divorce and how my mother warned me not to marry my ex-wife. When I walked past a dark alley and someone pulled a bag over my head, I felt something blunt hit the back of my head and I passed out. I woke up tied to a chair in a room lit up only by a naked light bulb. There were tall-built men around me, smirking and poking me awake.
Wake up, mister. We have something for you to do.
The tallest of the men said. He untied my hands and feet and yanked me up by the collar. I gulped when I realized that he was at least 1.5 feet taller than me. I was just glad he called me Mister, because that meant they still thought I was a little lawyer man. The tall guy dragged me over to a table in the middle of the room and whispered in my ear.
What do I need to do to get you to marry this couple right here?
I looked across the table to see 2 young people around my age. One of them was a cocky-looking guy, and the other was a shy-looking girl. I looked closely. Was she crying? I turned to the tall man, and that's when I recognized him. A friend of mine had told me about this city's gangs. The man in front of me was the leader of the Vipers. I looked behind the shy girl and recognized the leader of the rival gang, the Howlers. The man behind the girl pushed himself off the wall he was leaning on and said,
Is this happening or what? I don't have all night.
Be patient.
The tall man barked. He then leaned down to my height.
My friend and I need these 2 lovebirds to get married as soon as humanly possible. We'll all be family then.
He smirked. I was so scared of this guy. I thought I was sweating so much that my fake mustache would slip off. Sir, you don't understand. I'm just a lawyer. I can't marry couples, I managed to say. The man frowned.
You better be able to in half an hour, or so help me.
The leader of the rival gang began, but the tall man put a hand in front of his face and gave me a laptop.
Make sure you can do it in 30 minutes, and we'll spare you.
He whispered in my ear. He pushed me into a smaller room. I heard people arguing outside while I was freaking out. And then there was a soft knock on the door. The shy girl walked in and closed the door behind her.
I'm here to make sure you're getting ordained and not contacting the outside,
She said in a loud, monotone voice. My hands were shaking, but I managed to type, "How to get ordained," into the search engine. I heard sniffing next to me and turned to see the girl openly crying. My heart melted.
Please don't do it, sir. I'll find a way to help you, but please don't marry me off to that brute.
She sobbed quietly. I was sure that revealing my identity was the right choice. I took off the mustache and mask and let my hair fall out of the cap it was held in. The girl gasped when she saw the male lawyer in front of her turn into a young woman her age. "I want to help you. We need to find a way out," I said to the girl. She looked so happy that I was a girl like her and willing to help save her. She told me there would be a way for us to escape, so I listened to every word. 5 minutes later, I walked out of the little room wearing my mask and mustache, carrying the laptop under my arm and with the girl right behind me. I need a few supplies to finish the process. Do you have an office here? I asked as confidently as I could, though my legs were almost giving up holding my weight in fear.
I can show him,
said the girl behind me. The men in the room nodded, and the girl led me to the hallway. We walked quickly past the office and towards what she told me was the kitchen. When we reached the kitchen, the girl opened a heavy door that led to the garage of the building. It was completely empty, but so sketchy. When we saw there was no one behind us, we started sprinting. We ran down the street and she took me to a place I recognized and could find my dorm room. I stashed my disguise in a bush so anyone who followed us wouldn't recognize me. We arrived at my dorm quickly. There was a bang on my door not 5 minutes later, which made me relieved to have killer instincts. When I opened the door, the girl's fiancé found Zelda and Billy, not a lawyer and the girl. He muttered something and ran off, fuming. The girl and I sat down and took a deep breath. I quickly put all the masks and costumes in a duffel bag, as well as some water, snacks, and cash. The last thing I gave the girl was the notebook I had written the identities in. I had found a purpose for my beautiful masks.
How will I ever repay you?
Zelda said, tearing up again. Just be safe and go as far as you can, I said. If you ever need me, wear the Mario costume in the park around the corner from here. I'll recognize you as soon as I see you. The girl and I hugged goodbye, and she disappeared. My masks were gone, but it didn't feel like I lost them. More like they got a better purpose. Now, Melinda, Hunter, Alice, Nathan, Cornelia, Mario, Zelda, and Billy would help someone else. Even more than they helped me. Besides, I still had Lynn.
I took a deep breath and pushed off. I felt the wheels of the skateboard rattling beneath my feet as I sailed down the ramp. I felt so nervous. It wasn't because of the trick I was about to attempt. I jumped the rail many times and landed perfectly on my board. But this time, Jessica was here with her friends. I really wanted to impress her with my skateboarding skills. I thought she was really cool and had been trying to get her to notice me. As I approached the rail, I flipped the board up. But instead of landing straight on it, I fell to the floor and rolled over and over, finally coming to rest just in front of Jessica. As if that wasn't bad enough, I heard the sound of girls laughing loudly from the other side of the skate park. It was my sisters, Dottie, Dilly, Donna, Diana, Debbie, Deirdre, Desley, Dina, Dixie, and Della. Yep, I have 10 sisters. They came rushing over and started teasing me. "Darren, that was so funny. You went flying," one of my sisters said. When Jessica heard my sisters teasing me, she started laughing too. Things couldn't have been any worse. But before I go on, make sure you like and subscribe and hit that notification bell. And maybe you'll impress your crush, unlike me. It was a nightmare growing up with 10 sisters. They were always ganging up on me. Even when we were little, they would never play what I wanted to play. They would make me join in with their games or just ignore me totally. I was so annoyed with them for showing me up in front of Jessica. I was sure that if they hadn't laughed so much, then Jessica would probably have come over and been concerned about me. Instead, I had ended up looking like a fool. Well, I wasn't going to let them get away with it. I wanted to get my revenge on my sisters, and I knew the perfect way to do it. I snuck into my sisters' bedrooms and read all of their diaries. Each one of them had a secret crush, and I wrote down the names of every one of them. The following weekend, my sisters were throwing a party for all of their classmates. I knew that all their crushes would be invited, so the party would be the perfect place to get my revenge. Saturday afternoon came, and my sisters were all busy getting ready for the party. They had spent the morning preparing all the food and drinks, and they were busy getting their hair done and putting their dresses on. "Darren, you sort out the movie for tonight while we're getting ready," said Donna. "Sure, no problem," I said sweetly. I didn't want her to become suspicious of me, so I made sure I was extra nice to her. "You look lovely." "Thank you, Darren. What a nice thing to say." Inside, I was laughing to myself. I knew she wouldn't be thinking I was so nice if she knew what I had planned. The guests all started arriving around 7 o'clock. About an hour later, everyone was there and busy tucking into the food and drink. "Darren, can you put the movie on now, please?" asked Dixie. I reached over and pressed play. As the movie began to play, everyone stopped talking and looked at the screen. But instead of the opening credits to The Avengers playing, a video played listing the names of all my sister's crushes and which sister liked them. I had recorded the video earlier showing each sister's diary with the proof that they had a crush. My sisters were distraught. Half of them fled out of the room in tears immediately, while the others just sat there looking embarrassed. "How could you do this to us?" asked Deirdre. "You have embarrassed us all." All the guests started getting up and leaving. The boys my sisters had crushes on left too. They looked really embarrassed as they said goodbye. I began to feel really bad then. I thought that I had maybe gone a bit too far. The morning after the party, none of my sisters spoke to me. In fact, they hardly even looked in my direction. It was as though I didn't even exist. I did feel awful about what I had done, and I tried to make amends. I made them their favorite cookies and offered to do their share of the chores, but nothing would make them forgive me. It went on for weeks and weeks, them giving me the silent treatment. Even though my sisters annoyed me sometimes, it wasn't nice when they weren't talking to me at all. I knew that I had to find a way to get back into their good books. So I came up with a plan. I wrote a letter to each of their crushes, pretending it was from my sister. In it, I asked their crush if they could meet up to clear the air. I arranged a date and a place and told them I would meet them there. Then, just before the arranged time, I called each sister and told them I needed their help. I pleaded with them to come and meet me. The plan worked perfectly. Once my sisters met up with their crushes, they managed to sort it all out. I felt so happy that everything was going so well. That is, until it came to Debbie. All of my other sisters had met up with their crushes. But Debbie's crush already had a girlfriend, so that wasn't going to be as easy. I began to wonder if there was any way I could get Debbie's crush, Mark, to finish with his girlfriend, Sarah. I knew that he really liked her, and she liked him a lot too. There was nothing else for it. I would have to make up a lie about Sarah to get them to split up. So I wrote an anonymous note and left it in Mark's locker. In it, I told Mark that Sarah had been cheating on him. I had managed to find a photo of Sarah with one of her friends. I photoshopped the photo to make it look like it was a photo of Sarah and another boy. Of course, once Mark saw the evidence, he believed everything that was written in the note. He broke up with Sarah that very day. Once Sarah was out of the way, I sent Mark the same letter I had sent all the other boys, pretending it was written by Debbie. I asked him to meet Debbie at the park, and then I called Debbie and told her that I had fallen in the park and twisted my ankle. "You have to come and help me, I can't walk." Debbie wasn't very keen to help, but she could hardly leave me in the park with a twisted ankle. "Okay, I'll come, but this doesn't mean I've forgiven you," she said over the phone. I sat and watched from behind a tree as Debbie arrived at the park. When she saw Mark standing there, she started talking to him. After a couple of minutes, they were laughing and chatting away. I gave a sigh of relief. I had finally managed to get all my sisters together with their crushes. Now I just needed to let them all know that it had been me all along that had arranged the meeting. I sent all of my sisters a text message telling them that I wanted to arrange a family meeting. They reluctantly agreed, and so at 4 o'clock, we all gathered in our living room. "I've got something to tell you all," I said. "I'm the one that managed to get all of you to meet up with your crushes. I'm sorry about what I did at the party. I hope that you can forgive me." "But how did you manage to get Mark to agree when he was dating Sarah?" asked Debbie. I didn't want to let them know that I had lied about Sarah because she wasn't just Mark's girlfriend. She was also my sister Delsey's best friend. So I just told them that I had heard that Mark had split up with Sarah, so I seized my chance. "Please say that we can all be friends again. I guess we should forgive you, but don't ever do anything like that to us ever again," said Dina. They all gathered around me and gave me a hug. It felt really good to all be back on good terms. But just when I thought that everything was back to normal, I heard Delsey say, "Sarah, what are you doing here?" I looked around to see Sarah standing in the doorway of our living room. Her face looked like thunder. I began to get a really uneasy feeling. "I know what you did," she shouted at me. Delsey turned around to look at me. "What have you done now, Darren?" "Nothing. I have no idea what she's talking about." "Don't lie. Tell me what you did." I looked at all their faces staring at me. Okay, maybe I did something, but I only did it for your sake, Debbie." "What did you do, Darren?" Debbie asked quietly. "I might have told Mark that Sarah was cheating on him." I heard a gasp from all of my sisters. "How could you do that? That's unforgivable," said Delsey. I ran out of the room and upstairs to my bedroom. I couldn't believe it had all gone wrong. I had only just got my sisters to be friends with me, and now Sarah had gone and ruined it all again. The next day at school, I went looking for Sarah. I thought that if I apologized to Sarah and she forgave me, then hopefully my sisters would forgive me too. I was walking across the playground when I saw Jessica walking towards me. My heart started beating so fast. As she got nearer, I smiled at her. "Hi, Jessica, how are you?" "Get out of my sight. I don't want anything to do with you. You are mean and horrible." I was gobsmacked. I had no idea why she would say something like that to me. But then I noticed Sarah standing at the other side of the playground. She had seen and heard what Jessica had said and was laughing her head off. Oh, well, I guess I deserve it after what I did to her. Whoa. On the wall, I saw what had caused Jessica to hate me. It was a poster, a drawing of Jessica and her parents. Jessica's parents were a bit overweight, but whoever had drawn this had made them look as if they were morbidly obese. I wondered how anyone could be so cruel, but then I noticed the signature at the bottom of the poster. It said Darren. My heart sank. Someone had drawn this and had made out that it was me that had done it. That was obviously what Jessica thought. That was why she didn't want anything to do with me. I knew there was only one person who would want Jessica to hate me. Sarah. When the other kids saw me standing there, they all gave me such horrid looks. "This is below the belt, Darren," said one of Jessica's friends. "I didn't draw it. It wasn't me." "Well, it has your name on it." I had to find Sarah and confront her. I ran off down the corridor to look for Sarah. I saw her coming through the door. "Sarah, it was you that drew that poster, wasn't it?" "I have no idea what you're talking about." "Look, we have to stop this. We're even now. I'm sorry I told Mark you cheated. I was only trying to help my sister. Now you have got your revenge. Please, let's forgive and forget." "Okay, Darren, I'm not one to hold a grudge. Anyway, to be honest, I was getting bored with Mark and was about to dump him. Okay, no more doing mean things to each other." I breathed a sigh of relief. That was one problem sorted out. Now all I had to do was find Jessica and explain to her. But when I told her that it was Sarah that had drawn the poster, she didn't believe me. "You're lying. I know it was you." "Please, you have to believe me. I would never do anything like that." But she didn't believe me. She just walked off and left me standing all alone. I had never felt so depressed in all my life. I spent all evening in my bedroom all alone. My sisters came to check on me a couple of times, but I just told them to leave me alone. This went on for a few days. I didn't go anywhere or talk to any of my friends or family. I just felt so unhappy. I planned to spend all day Saturday in my room, but about 10 o'clock I got a phone call from Delcy. "Darren, please come and help me. I've fallen in the lake and I'm soaking wet. Please, bring me a change of clothes." I didn't feel like going anywhere, but I couldn't leave Delcy there shivering, wet and cold. I grabbed some of her things and went down to the lake, but when I got there, she was nowhere to be seen. Delcy, where are you?" "I think it's me you're here to meet." I turned around and saw Jessica standing behind me. "Jessica, what are you doing here?" "Your sisters told me everything. I know that it was Sarah that made the poster. I know she wanted to get her revenge on you. I've made a real mess of things, haven't I?" "Well, you have been a bit silly, but it's all sorted out now. Do you think we could be friends, Jessica?" "No, sorry." My heart sank when I heard her words. "We can't be friends, because I want more than that. I want to be your girlfriend." Jessica had just finished speaking, and I hadn't even had time to reply when all of my sisters came running out of the woods. They were cheering and clapping, and everyone started hugging each other. But in all the madness, I found time to whisper quietly in Jessica's ear, "I'd love to be your boyfriend." As I opened my eyes, the first thing that hit me was the cold stone floor that I was lying on. I had no idea where I was or how I had got there. I sat up and looked around me. I realized I was in an alleyway, but I had no memory of how I had ended up there. My first instinct was to cry, but I knew that that wouldn't help me. So instead, I stood up and decided I would try to look for help somewhere. I began to wander the streets, looking for somewhere or someone that might take pity on me. After about 10 minutes of walking around, I saw a sign on a building. It said foster home. My heart leaped. Surely they will help me. I went and knocked on the door. It was opened by a kind-looking lady. "Can you help me? I've just woken up in an alleyway. I don't know who I am or where I'm from."
Come in, child. We will take care of you.
But before I go on, make sure you like and subscribe and hit that notification bell, or you might end up with too many parents like I did.
You must remember something. What about your family? Do you have brothers or sisters? Isn't there anything you can think of?
I shook my head. I'm sorry, my mind is a complete blank. I don't even know what my name is.
Well, we can easily solve that problem. You can choose whatever name you like, and we will call you that.
I looked around me trying to find something that would give me some inspiration. My eyes settled on a box of cereal with the title Dr. Matthew. Matthew, I'd like to be called Matthew, please.
Okay, Matthew it is.
The lady told me that I was welcome to stay with them at the foster home for as long as I needed.
But in the meantime, we will try to look for someone who would like to adopt you. It will be much nicer for you if you have a real family, someone to look after you.
I liked the sound of that. I wanted to belong to someone. It didn't take them long to find some prospective parents for me.
Matthew, we have 5 different couples who would like to meet you. You can spend some time with each of them and then decide if you would like to live with any of them.
The following day, I met with each set of parents. The first couple, David and Amy, made an instant impression on me.
Hi, Matthew. We just want you to know that we would love for you to come and live with us. We have a big house and it feels so empty with just the 2 of us. We know that you will be happy with us. Would you like to live with us?
Yes, I would like that very much.
Okay, that's settled then. We will let the foster home know.
I felt really happy. David and Amy seemed really nice. I was sure we would get along fine. As I was waving goodbye to David and Amy, I saw a young couple walking up to the foster home.
You must be Matthew. I'm Louise, and this is my husband, James.
Oh, hello. Yes, I'm Matthew. Come in, come in. I showed Lois and James through to the lounge and we sat down.
It's really nice to meet you, Matthew. We would love for you to join our family. We haven't any children of our own, but we do have a lovely dog named Rex. Do you like dogs?
Yes, I love dogs.
So do you think you'd be happy to come and live with us?
Yes, I would. That would be great. Lois and James shook my hand and said goodbye.
We will see you very soon, Matthew.
Lois and James had only been gone 5 minutes when I heard a knock at the door. I went to see who was there.
Matthew?
Yes.
I'm Mark, and this is my wife, Joanne.
Hi there, come in.
The home told us that you don't have any memory of who you are or where you're from.
Yes, that's right.
Well, we're hoping that you want to live with us, and we can make some new memories for you.
That sounds really nice.
We think so too. I'm sure it won't take long to organize everything, and then you can come and live with us.
Thank you. You're so kind to offer me a home. Joanne smiled at me and gave me a hug.
We will look after you, Matthew. You can rely on us.
I waved goodbye to Mark and Joanne and went into the kitchen to make a sandwich. But just as I was about to butter the bread, I heard a knock at the door. I went to answer it.
Hello, Matthew. We are here to see if you would like to come and live with us. I'm Julie, and this is my husband, Simon.
Come in. I'm just making myself a sandwich in the kitchen.
Don't be silly. I can do that for you. Why don't you go and sit down with Simon whilst I make it for you?
Simon and I went through to the lounge and sat down. A few minutes later, Julie joined us. She passed me a sandwich.
Hope it's how you like it.
I took one bite. It was perfect. It's delicious. Thank you so much.
Oh, I love cooking. If you come to live with us, I will make you all of your favorite meals. Wouldn't you like that?
Yes, I would definitely like that. Thank you. Then Nick and Sharon came in after that, the fifth and final couple, and I found myself agreeing to them too. After Nick and Sharon left, I sat down on the sofa and thought about all of the couples. They had all seemed nice. I guess that's why I had told all of them that I would like to live with them. Later that evening, the lady who ran the foster home told me that the couple who wanted to adopt me would come to see me the following day to ask a few final questions. The next morning, I woke up really early. I felt so nervous, wondering which couple would be the ones that wanted to adopt me. When I heard the knock at the door, I started to get really excited. I opened it to find Simon and Julie standing there. I was overjoyed to see them.
We would love to adopt you, Matthew.
Really? Thank you.
We'll be back to pick you up later. Give you time to get your things together.
Okay, see you later. I had just started packing my bag when I heard another knock. Maybe they've forgotten something. But when I opened the door, it wasn't Simon and Julie standing there. It was David and Amy.
Hello, Matthew. We hope you're pleased to see us. We want to adopt you. What do you say?
I felt a bit confused, but I decided to just go along with it. Yes, please, I'd love for you to adopt me.
Okay, we will see you later then.
I thought that would be the last visit I would get that day, but I was wrong. In the next hour, I got a visit from the other 3 couples. They all said the same thing. They wanted to adopt me. I couldn't help myself. I said yes to all of them. I sat down and thought about what had just happened. Now what am I going to do? I've just agreed to be adopted by 5 different sets of parents. I decided that the best thing to do would be to spread my bets. That way, if one couple didn't like me, then I would still have someone to adopt me. David and Amy were the first ones to arrive to pick me up. They drove me to their house, but instead of going straight inside, I hesitated outside the front door. Do you mind if I go to the park for a little while? I need some time to process all of this.
Of course, Matthew. Take as much time as you need.
But instead of going to the park, I ran back to the foster home to meet the next couple. I got there just in time. Lois and James were standing at the front door.
There you are, Matthew. We thought you changed your mind.
No, not at all. I just needed to run an errand. When we arrived at their house, I made the same excuse to them. I just need to think about things for a while. Is that okay?
Sure, of course.
I did the same thing with all 5 sets of parents. Each couple thought that they were the ones that had adopted me. I managed to juggle my life between all 5 sets of parents. It wasn't easy though, and my sleep pattern sucked. I would spend 2 hours at one house, then 2 hours at another. Sometimes I would be running through the streets at midnight to get to one of the other parents' houses. Luckily, they all lived fairly close to each other. At least because they were all in the same neighborhood. They all put me into the same school. There was no way I would have been able to jump between different schools. I took it in turns to let each set of parents drop me off at school. When some of the other kids saw me, they would ask,
Who is that?
"Oh, that's my aunt and uncle. They just gave me a ride to school." Some of the kids were a bit suspicious, but I managed to convince them. I did have a few close calls though. One time I was in a shopping mall with Lois and James when I spotted David and Amy walking at the other side of the mall. I quickly dragged Lois and James into a nearby shop.
What's got into you, Matthew? Why are you dragging us around?
I just really want to look at these shoes. I picked up the nearest pair of shoes to me and showed them to Lois. As I did so, I could see David and Amy walking past the shop window. A feeling of relief flooded through me. Phew, that was close. I could see that Lois and James were still looking a bit confused though. The end of term was coming up and it was time for the parent-teacher interviews. The school had sent out an email to each set of parents asking them to come. How am I going to get away with this? I decided I would tell 4 sets of parents not to come in. I would only ask Nick and Sharon to go to the interview. The other couples were all fine with not going in. I told them that it would just be a waste of time. That is, except Mark and Joanne.
Matthew, it's not a waste of our time. We want to meet with your teachers. We want to know how you are getting on at school.
I started to panic. I couldn't let them go. I had to find a way of stopping them. Why can't you just respect my wishes? I don't want you to go. Mark and Joanne looked really hurt at my words. I felt really bad, but I didn't have any choice. I had to stop them or my plan would fall to pieces. The night of the parent-teacher interviews, I went along with Nick and Sharon. But while we were sitting waiting for our turn, Mark and Joanne turned up. I heard them speaking to the school secretary.
We're Matthew's parents.
Nick and Sharon looked at them in confusion.
What do you mean you're Matthew's parents? You can't be.
I decided that I wasn't going to stick around to hear anymore. I ran out of the classroom, but on the way out, I bumped into David and Amy, Lois and James, and Simon and Julie. All of them spoke at the same time.
Hi, son.
They all turned and stared at each other. It was obvious they were wondering who these other people were. I ran out of the school and straight to the park. It was my favorite place to go when I needed to think. I had just managed to calm down when all 5 sets of parents arrived.
Matthew, we want an explanation. What is going on?
I explained everything to them. When they heard what I had to say, David, Amy, Lois, James, Simon, and Julie immediately stormed off. Only Nick and Sharon and Mark and Joanne stayed behind. I'm so sorry. I understand if you don't want anything to do with me anymore.
Don't be silly, Matthew. You're our son. We love you.
The same goes for us. We love you too.
Maybe we could share you. You could spend 1 week with us and the following week with them.
But that will never work. It'll be too hard and it's not fair on you. You expected to be adopting a child for yourselves, not one to share with strangers. We stood there in silence. Nobody knew what to say next. But suddenly, the silence was broken by the lady from the foster home appearing next to us.
Matthew, I have some news for you.
What news? What is it?
Your real parents have come looking for you.
What?
You'd better all come with me.
The 5 of us went with her back to the foster home. When we got there, she introduced me to a couple there.
Matthew, these are your biological parents.
I looked at the couple. It was obviously true. I looked exactly like them. What happened to me? How did I end up in the alleyway? My mother looked at me with tears in her eyes.
We were on a camping trip and you got lost. We looked everywhere, but we couldn't find you. We feared the worst.
But then we were driving through town and we spotted you walking down the street with this couple. We tried to find you, but we failed. We decided to contact the foster home to ask for their help.
They told us that a boy had turned up with no memory. We knew it had to be you. You must have fallen down a hill or something and banged your head. That must be how you lost your memory.
I looked at my real mom.
Do you remember me?
She asked. At first I couldn't remember, but then it hit me. Memories came flooding back of my past life, of my family, and the camping trip. I remember now. I hugged my real parents, tears of joy streaming down my face. Finally, I was back where I belonged. But even though I had found my real family, I didn't forget about Nick and Sharon or Mark and Joanne. At the weekends, I took it in turns to spend one day with each couple. Sometimes we even went on family holidays together with all of us. It was great, and what was even better was on my birthday, I got 2 extra sets of gifts. That's never a bad thing, is it?